Okay, so continuing on, yeah, you have to rasterize the type layer to distort it. For some reason, I was thinking that you didn't in this particular way, but I think I was just thinking of Illustrator, I guess. I'm not sure. But yeah, I think that's what I was doing. I got mixed up. But all right, so once we rasterize it, we can figure it out. Let me change the background color because I think the bounding box handles are going to be blue here, and we won't be able to see what I'm doing. So I'll just make this. Let me just make it some dark color at the moment, so it shows up. All right, so I'm back on my type layer, and I just did this. So I just right-click on the layer, and you'll see a rasterized layer will be, or a rasterized type layer will be available. See how the big T is gone? That means it's no longer editable type. Okay, so if I go, make sure I'm on that type layer, and I can just do Control T. That's the shortcut for edit, free, transform. Okay, Control T. Now we can get like vector type handles to control this layer, just like Bezier handles. And you can either click this, if you're in Control T, that's free transform. You'll see this warp button up here. Okay, and here's no and here's yes, right? Or I can go edit, and right below free transform, you'll see transform and warp. Okay. And when I was in type before, it was just giving me those preset warp type things like flag and fish and arc and stuff like that. I want to do a free form though, and that's because I didn't have the type rasterized. All right, so you can see this little thing's pushed in up here. So now, if you look, if we just break this thing down, it's got like a bounding box around it, and the corners are like vertices that you can pull on, the four corners, and all the other dots are handles, right? So if I pull on this, see how it pulls the handle out? Oh, baby, that's what we want, okay? And here, that's the actual, so if I want to try to fit it into this, oops, so maybe I gotta make that one shorter. Just like using a regular, might get a little bit too distorted here for this. Okay, so that's not a great example because it's too extreme for what that can handle. But at any rate, you get an idea of how to do it, right? And if I want to make this, rounded on the corners, I can do that. Okay, this is going to be pretty illegible. So you want people to still be able to read it, fairly well if they scrutinize it for a bit. But anyway, I think this is the tool that you want. Okay. If I say no, it'll just go right back. Let's see if there's anything else. That warp is going to give you what you want, I think, pretty much. Warp tool, okay? And try different pieces, different size pieces of type, and see what looks good in different places and so on. But I think you can get that. That will mostly be what you need. All right, let me just go to where's our second of posters again, and just looking at these. So in terms of the shapes and stuff overall, if you look at them, a lot of them have some kind of sort of like frame around it that helps to integrate the whole design. See that? I would recommend doing something like that. I think it's gonna, so even, I gotta stop clicking on them because I don't want to go to the article. Even just a simple thing like that, you have your colors in there. This is pretty cool with sunglasses and the type on it. It's hard to see here, but Moby Grape is a band that had a lot of psychedelic posters. I don't even really know who they are, but there's a lot of sort of cool looking posters of Moby Grape. But anyway, so distorting the type, some kind of border, I think, and then like, okay, how do we make the person? Okay, let me get back to Photoshop. So I'll get a perk, but this is not a good psychedelic color here. Okay. I was Googling Lana Del Rey. Okay, so let's say I wanted to do Lana Del Rey or something, or put her on there. So first of all, you got to find a really epic photo. And, you know, she's cool and stuff, but if you look, there's a lot of pictures of her that are just like, they're not going to work. You know, it's just like too much like a picture of a person, kind of. So you got to like look until you find something that's, first of all, you want it to have kind of like strong light and dark, because we're going to try to turn this into two colors or something like that. And one that looks kind of more like a, you know, like this probably would work. See that one right there? Or what else? Does that really look like her? I don't know, but let's see how this one works. So I'm going to copy it, copy image, and I'm going to go back to Photoshop and Control V to paste it. Or oh, it's little. I'm going to mess with it quite a lot, so let's see how it works anyway. So the first thing you want to do is get your picture to the size you want to use it at, so all the stuff you do will be at the right resolution, right? And there's a couple, we could try just rendering it with the gradient ramp, and it's not going to really be true silkscreen looking, but let's just see what it looks like. So this is going to affect all the layers below it. If I just, well, let's just look at it and see what it looks like. So I'm on her layer, and I go to my adjustment layers down at the bottom of the layer palette, and gradient map. I think I said gradient ramp, I meant gradient map, okay? And it's going to render the whole image in whatever gradient I have up here. So let me make it something that's it's kind of negative looking. So, you know, that's, and like if you want to make it look, see, it's very kind of soft. It really still looks like a photograph that's been treated. But if I take my two colors in the gradient, and if I put them next to each other, it's, yeah. Okay, so we can really make it so it's almost like, the tighter we make it, the harder the edges are. And if I can go more this way, and to make it so there's more blue, right? Can't really see her at all. If I go this way, yeah, so something like that might work, right? Now, so let's say you did that, and you want to make it so the adjustment layer doesn't affect the whole. You don't want to be changing every layer of your thing that's below the adjustment layer, right? So what you do is you select your, you know, I just held down shift there. So the layer of my picture and the adjustment layer are both active. And I could just right click and go, or I can go to the layer palette menu and new group from layers, okay? So now it's in a group, and the adjustment layer is in the group, in the folder with it. And I just changed the blending mode on the group from pass through, which it defaults to normal, okay? And now the adjustment layer only affects what's inside, what's below it inside the group, okay? All right. Now, another thing we can do, the other thing I was going to try is actually converting the photo to like a posterizing it or turning it into just 2 or 3 shades of color. And then I usually run a median filter to try to smooth it out. This deal with the adjustment layer, I'm not sure how that's going to work, but let's just look. All right, so I selected the layer of the picture again. I'm going to go filter, noise, median. Okay. There's also under other of your filters, there's maximum and minimum. Okay, so what that means is minimum means black in this case, and maximum means white. And minimum will expand depending on what number you put in the amount of white in the image or the amount of black. Okay. And up under noise for some unknown reason is what we want median, which is between the two of them, which smooths off the edges. Okay. Sometimes here it is. Don't know if this is going to do anything. Oh yeah, so actually worked pretty good. So if I go way up, seemed like it was previewing here, and then it's not. Oh, there it is. It's just really slow. So it rounds off the edges. Okay, let's wait for it to, and makes it look more like a silkscreen kind of. All right, it's softening the image quite a lot. But if you have something that's black and white with dirty hard edges like we have, it makes it look more like what you want. Okay. So something like that might work. Let's try a completely different approach. I'm going to Control Z that, and I'm going to delete the adjustment layer, and I'm going to delete the group. That was nice. Delete group only. Okay. All right. So I'm on the layer, and this is a place where you could make a backup of the layer and turn it off just if you think, because this is destructive editing that we're doing here. So I'm going to make her a little bit bigger because, whoops. Control T. All right, image adjustments. Now there's two that might be useful here. One is posterize, that breaks it down into the image down into flat layers. And the other one is threshold. Okay, let's look at threshold first. That makes the thing black and white. Okay, and the threshold is just this little thing in the middle where what's the threshold between black and white? This might be the way to go because it's really useful. Because you can move it just so you see where it's rendered best. Okay, let's look at posterize. Image adjustments, posterize. Okay, and here again, this is going to look better with a little bit of median run on it. It defaults to, I think, the standard. If you turn it way up, it just looks like a photo again. So you really want to be at the very bottom of this. I don't really have any idea why there's so many levels of this, but maybe there's some reason for it. I think it defaults to 8 or something, but usually you want and when you go to 2, it gets crazy looking, but that's probably the number of levels that you want. Or what if I type 1? Oh, 2 is the lowest it can do. Let's see, 3. And you'll have to change the colors, right? So if I go 2, see what that looks like. And then I can go filter and remember that I had median on there. And then I can go image adjustments, maybe replace color. And if I want to change this red, I can change it to, change it to whatever color you want. Right. Or if I want to change the yellow, just click on that with a little eyedropper. And you could do something like that, right? But I'm going to Control Z a bunch of time to go back to I feel like the threshold. You guys can experiment with all these. Let's see what kind of look you can get. And also, if you're not getting the look you want, it might be the photo, right? So feel free to just try a different picture. Image adjustments, threshold, okay? And here I can kind of look at her eye and see where I like it, where it looks like her, and where it looks like somebody else. Okay, and then you can go one more time. I'm going to go to median. I'm going to turn it down a little bit. I don't want it. It doesn't need to be so extreme, but I just want it to not have that dirty noisiness. I mean, maybe the dirty, noisy stuff is okay, but I probably would go in and paint out, like if I didn't like this, go out and fix little bits of schmutz on it and stuff like that, and tidy it up a little bit. And then let's see if I can think of some simple way to color this thing. Image adjustments. If I go to hue saturation and just click on colorize, we'll see what happens. Didn't change the, oh, it does, but it's kind of, I could just get two. I can either change the black or the white. So that's image adjustments, hue saturation with colorize checked. That's a little uncontrolled. I could always just go to the paint bucket. We'll see what this looks like. Where'd the paint bucket go? Paint bucket tool, was under the gradient for me. And if I just pick some color, let's say hot pink or whatever, and I'm going to dump it on the black stuff. That worked pretty well. And if I turn off because if I dump it on the black stuff with contiguous turned on, right, it only spreads till it gets to the end of that island of that color. But if I turn off contiguous, it'll find everywhere on that layer. So that works pretty good. What if I had, if I try on the background? Yeah, so just dumping the paint bucket on it might be a simple way to go. There's also image adjustments. There was one other one I was going to mention. Oh, replace color. Did I talk about that already? I feel like I did. Yeah, so you can change colors that way too. Okay, and then finally, the thing you're going to want to do is probably put this in some kind of shape that fits into the swirly business of the poster, right? So I'm going to just get my pen tool, right? The old pen tool, and make sure it's set to shape and not path. And I'm just going to, I don't know, draw some, I don't know, don't know what I'm doing here, but I'm just making some random looking shape. All right, so there's the shape I made, okay? It's actually underneath the picture of her. So let's see, so there's the shape I drew underneath, right? And if I go to her layer and do create clipping mask, okay, the shape that's below, I tell you, I got a mental block against this. Every time I do this, I do it the wrong way like 3 different times, except as a miracle that time, because I always want to put the shape on top or say that the shape is the clipping mask, but you assign the right click and assign the clipping, create the clipping mask on the picture, and the shape that you're clipping to is underneath. Okay, so clearly this is not a good design, but I can move both things around. If I activate both layers, I can adjust them how I want. All right, so I think that's probably enough techniques to get going with this. And if you can't get a good design happening, just look at the other posters for inspiration and see what they did to make it look cool. You want it to be like really, designed with not, even though the psychedelic style is kind of wild looking, there's most of the posters are still tightly designed. They're not messy looking. So let's see what you can do. Okay.